We'll just open it up for any questions. On May 20th, 2020, we requested that Attorney General Peter Neronha protect us from Speaker Mattiello's unlawful conduct and control of the Joint Committee on Legislative Services and its $46 million budget of taxpayer money. As many of you know, the JCLS is a spending arm of the General Assembly, which by law must be controlled by a bipartisan group of legislators. Yet the JCLS has not met in over 10 years. It hasn't met in over 10 years. Rather, it has been commandeered by Speaker Mattiello, who has declared himself a one-man majority of this five-member committee. Because of this lawlessness and an illegal audit of the convention center ordered by Speaker Mattiello, in January of 2020, we filed a lawsuit against Speaker Mattiello to stop his unlawful control of the JCLS and $46 million a year of taxpayer money. And that lawsuit continues. At our May 20th, 2020 meeting with Attorney General Peter Neronha, we asked him to follow 4296, General Laws 4296, and hire us an attorney to protect us from potential civil and criminal liability due to Speaker Mattiello's unlawful control of a rogue JCLS. The JCLS is the epicenter of no fewer than 3 grand jury investigations or criminal prosecutions. The grand jury is purportedly looking in to the Speaker's illegal convention center audit. There is a rumored grand jury about JCLS employees benefiting from cannabis legislation and regulations. And now, what brings us here today, the Jeff Britt trial. Jeff Britt was Speaker Mattiello's 2016 campaign operative, who is currently facing felony money laundering charges due to his alleged actions on behalf of Speaker Mattiello's campaign. Just 2 days ago, in our capacity as Secretary of JCLS, we were served with a public records demand by Mr. Britt's criminal defense attorney, former United States Attorney Robert Corrente, for all JCLS documents relating to the receipt and expenditure of certain federal funds. Now, as JCLS Secretary, we're responsible for the care, custody, and control of all JCLS documents. But we don't have any documents. The Speaker controls all these documents, as he has illegally taken control of the JCLS. And don't forget, the Attorney General has recently pursued public records complaints against the JCLS. So now, we are sucked into the Jeff Britt trial, which concerns the allegedly unlawful actions during Mattiello's campaign, which Attorney General Neronha is prosecuting, which now apparently has something to do with the JCLS, which Mattiello has unlawfully commandeered. I hope you can see the wicked web. Will someone please tell me how we are even to proceed? We're lawfully required to turn over documents to Attorney Corrente in response to his request. But we can't get any documents except by requesting them from Speaker Mattiello, who's conflicted out. He will be a witness in the Jeff Britt trial, and Attorney Corrente is undoubtedly aiming this document request at digging into Mattiello's potentially unlawful JCLS activities as they relate to Jeff Britt. I could never certify as complete a response to Attorney Corrente based on documents provided to me by Speaker Mattiello. I could never do that. I would never do that. If we had a functioning JCLS, we would be able to meet and deal with this. It would be simple. We'd call a meeting tonight. We'd hire some outside attorney to go through the documents, cull the responsive ones, and hand them over to Attorney Corrente. But that's not possible because we don't have a functioning JCLS. The members stated, we don't want to meet. Speaker Mattiello controls all. In our recent lawsuit, my fellow JCLS members said that Speaker Mattiello can do whatever he wants, that he is the one-man majority of this committee. Even Senate President Ruggiero, who for years stated that the JCLS needed to be cleaned up and fixed, in our lawsuit, he took the position that Speaker Mattiello can do whatever he wants. He's legally authorized to do whatever he wants. This Britt trial debacle is the exact type of legal quandary we asked Attorney General Neronha to protect us from over a month ago. But we cannot even get the Attorney General to uphold his statutory mandate to hire us counsel to advise us on how to navigate this mess, this catch-22, how to protect ourselves from Mattiello's potentially unlawful conduct, and how to protect the taxpayers funding $46 million a year to this organization. The multiple levels of government failure with the JCLS saga is striking. The JCLS members have failed in their duty to the taxpayers and people of Rhode Island. The Raimondo administration has approved all JCLS expenditures despite their duty to review them for legality. Can anyone even rationalize that it's okay to spend $46 million a year of taxpayer money by a committee that hasn't met in over 10 years? It's not even logical. Treasurer Magaziner has blindly written the JCLS checks, and now Attorney General Noronha will not obtain for us legal advice, which he's required to do by law, to advise us about how to deal with this mess, how to navigate it, how to protect ourselves, and how to protect taxpayers. This keeps snowballing, and it keeps getting worse. And we are out on a limb, all alone, trying to do the right thing, trying to clean up this mess, and have everyone start following the law. But now we're potentially exposed to liability simply because of our membership on the rogue JCLS organization. Given what's going on, we have no choice but to go public and demand 6 weeks after we asked the Attorney General for it, 6 weeks after we asked for it, to hire us counsel to help us navigate this wicked web, to help us protect the taxpayers, and importantly, as it relates to the Jeff Britt trial, to advise us on how to get these necessary documents, which we're legally required to obtain and turn over to Attorney Corrente based on his lawful request on behalf of his client, who is entitled to due process and a fair trial. Thank you. Take any questions, and if any other members have something to say, they're welcome to join.
What happens next year? You can demand all you want, but you demanded 6 weeks ago. What do you do next if you don't get legal counsel?
That's a great question. I mean, we need legal counsel to advise us. We're wrapping our heads about how we even navigate this catch-22. I mean, I'm legally obligated to turn over the documents. We are. And we don't have any documents. The Speaker has the documents, but I can't request them from him. We can't request the documents from him because he has an inherent conflict. As a witness in this criminal trial, and the documents may relate to things that he could have possibly done improperly on JCLS that Jeff Britt wants to know.
What does Corrente want?
So he is requesting, and there's a copy of the document request being handed out. Specifically, he wants evidence about all federal monies that have come in and been expended relating to the census count. So I don't know where he's going with it, but I don't think that the former U.S. attorney would just go on a fishing expedition if he didn't believe there was something going on that he needed to get.
If I could add on to that, Walt, Leader Filippi has a statutory obligation as the Secretary of JCLS, which is an organization, a parliamentary organization within the House and the Senate that control almost $1 million a week of spending in this state. Statutorily, he's the Secretary. When someone requests in a felonious criminal trial, an APRA or FOIA or any sort of ask for documentation, it's incumbent upon the Secretary of any parliamentary organization to provide that. Now, we've heard in the past from the Speaker, well, all the documents are available, they just have to go down and look at them if they want to. Well, if the committee hasn't met in 10 years, how can any of those documents be verified as A, authentic, B, how can we verify that potentially damning documents haven't been removed? The questions just continue to pile up when you simplify this. And the leader's suit at the beginning was about the Convention Center Authority and how JCLS had gone too far. And I think this particular incident where, again, we have another grand jury, in this case a felony criminal grand jury, which is unrelated to the Convention Center, now doing exactly what the leader feared and what we were trying to correct by getting a functional JCLS. He is now in the legal and civil hot seat because statutorily, he's been put into that seat. It's patently unfair, not only to the leader, but to the entire state of Rhode Island and the people who are funding this $1 million a week spending with absolutely zero oversight. It couldn't have been set up any better to demonstrate the point that was made by the initial suit. We must be a functional JCLS. We must have a responsible and accountable JCLS. And it's only a short few months later that Leader Filippi has been dragged into a felony criminal trial because of the lack of obedience to the statutes and to follow the proper parliamentary procedures in JCLS. This is the example why this lawsuit was filed and absolutely must be corrected. If they ignore us, if they ignore this and our demands continue, we don't have any recourse, right? We can continue the lawsuit. We can continue. Eventually something will break. We ought to get together now, get JCLS squared away, put all of this stuff together and deal with it. But instead, they're digging their heels in. Completely unacceptable.
Peter, Filippi, do you have any, belief that there is something in those documents that would show wrongdoing by anyone, or you really don't know what?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I know that the former U.S. attorney wouldn't just go on a fishing expedition if he didn't believe there was something there. There could be nothing there. I just can't trust anything that would be handed to me to turn over to me. I saw his name on this APRA request and red flags went up everywhere. And given that we've asked the Attorney General over 6 weeks ago to protect us, he can't represent us. It happens all the time. He hires outside counsel to come in and be our advisor. He's statutorily required to be our legal advisor, but he can't. He has to obtain someone for us. The fact that that hasn't been done in over 6 weeks, and now we're facing a deadline in 8 days to respond to Attorney Corrente, frankly, I don't think we have any choice but to go public.
This is not a subpoena, but do you have counsel? Are you concerned that you could be held in contempt if you're not eventually producing these documents?
No, there's no contempt for failure to respond to APRA.
Right.
There's civil liability. And I spoke to a criminal defense attorney, a friend of mine, and they've said that instead of using Rule 17C under the Superior Court Rules of Criminal Procedure, sometimes it makes more sense for criminal defense attorneys to use APRA because it's a truncated process. You can get documents faster. So I can only assume that if we refuse to respond or are unable to respond, we're going to be under subpoena under Rule 17C. So I didn't want to wait until then to go public. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. This is a failure of government on so many levels, and so we're putting it out there. There's no way we are going to allow ourselves to be exposed to public contempt, criminal or civil liability based on multiple failures of government. We're giving it to the people to see, and giving it to you guys to see.
The speaker is going to say those documents have always been stored. You knew where they were. You could have gone there anytime to check on them or to answer any questions that you had.
I'm sure he's going to say that. I had no notice when all the black mold was there and the documents all got moved. I requested documents in our lawsuit from them 4 weeks ago, and they played games, basically said, oh, you don't have access to them. Tried to go through the attorneys, not letting me see the documents. So I frankly don't trust anything that would go on in that office, strictly from a procedural perspective. The proper thing would be for JCLS to meet immediately, cut out the speaker and Frank Montanaro, because they're both witnesses in the Jeff Britt trial, hire an outside attorney to go through all the documents and call the proper ones. We cannot trust that office to provide us the documents to respond. We just can't.
It sounds like you're also saying that you can't trust the Attorney General, though, which is a very different thing than the Speaker.
I'm not saying we can't trust him. We are imploring him. I believe in Attorney General Peter Nerona. I think he's a good man. I think he's got a lot on his plate with this JCLS thing. I believe that he has an obligation, and we're pleading with him to uphold that legal obligation and find us counsel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.